What's up, everybody? Back with another Flashback Friday. Told you I'd probably be bringing my dad in on one, so we're going to bring him in here. This is going to be a lot longer. I've been trying to keep him under 4 minutes, but we're going to take this one back old school, go back to when fishing was a little bit more simpler. When way I was raised fishing, you know, using flashers and looking at maps, topographic maps, I guess is how you said it, or what you called them, topographic?
Topographic maps.
Yeah, anyway. Learning how to read those and triangulate stuff on the banks. Like, you know, when we'd find a school of fish or a brush pile, we would line up a couple trees with each other, or a tree and a buoy, or the end of a point with a certain pine tree. And, you know, that's the way I learned to fish. And then, you know, it was a lot different back then. But, you know, the world is quickly evolving with technology, and things are rapidly changing. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's so much different now than it was when I did this. I started back in about 86, 87, even though I had fished a lot prior to that. That was way before GPS, way before so much of the sonar technology we had. I mean, basically then all we had were flashers, and you learned to read topographic maps, which they got considered to be better through the course of the years. But it was triangulating. That was the deal. A pole with a mountaintop, a tree off the end of a point with a tree or another point to line up for specific places you were able to idle over and find, and you needed to remember there were no such things as waypoints. So that's how he came up. I mean, we had better electronics and sonar by the time he started actually spending time in the boat with me, which was at a very early age, I might add. I had him on the water. Well, he was throwing a snoopy rod from the time he was probably 2 years old. And by about 4, I had him in a bass boat with me, teaching him how to cast. And by the age of 5.5 at the latest, he was very efficient with a bait casting reel. And man,
it's come a long ways. Yeah, I got into it quick.
I just have so much pride in being able to see all the hours that I've invested in him, and all the wonderful times we've had on the water together. Excuse me for being emotional. It's just, it means so much to me to see his success today in the industry. And it's so much different today. They have great electronics. They have forward-facing sonar. The boats, the trolling motors, everything motors, it's so much different than it used to be. And you have to be extremely competitive and have a driving desire, and I know he's got that in his heart. And I have a lot of pride in knowing I helped instill that seed into him and watch it turn into what it has turned into. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of memories we had on the water. A lot of memories, man. Gosh, we spent probably at least on average growing up, I would say at least 3 to 4 days a week on the water. I remember Mom would come pick me up, or if I rode the school bus, I'd hop off and she'd run me straight down there. But I don't like to get into controversy too much, but we, and I'm not going to here, but I would like to kind of get your opinion on what you think is happening with, you know, we've got the forward-facing sonar junk going on now. You got guys that love it, guys that hate it. You know, I mean, you know how I feel about it. I honestly don't care if they ban it or if they keep it. I would hope that these leagues would keep it, because personally I like catching more fish, and obviously it's such an effective tool. You're going to be able to catch more fish using forward-facing sonar, just because it makes it makes you more efficient on the water. I mean, for one, I'm getting to fish for an entire different group of fish that before, you know, like when I was growing up, you weren't really able to fish for suspended fish. They're out there just roaming around. I mean, we didn't really have a clue what was swimming around out there. Every now and then, you know, you get lucky and get one to eat your bait when you're reeling it in to make another cast, or come up and get a top water. But for the most part, LiveScope has opened up a new world to us in the fishing industry, being able to get out there and chase suspended fish and stuff. And I know a lot of people would say, oh, it's detrimental to the future of our sport. And I can tell you right now, if you think it's hurting bass fishing, you've obviously, your mind's out in left field. You're a few bricks shy of a full load, because it's not affecting bass fishing whatsoever. If anything, I've noticed and I see coming up in the future is live scope, if anything, is going to make these lakes, maybe the population of bass are even going to are more substantial, because for one, 99% of anglers, and I feel like bass fishermen, we just don't keep bass. We don't keep bass anymore. I mean, we like to keep a few every now and then. I might keep 40 or 50 bass in a year, and usually it's crappie. Now, I can see where it could be detrimental to certain crappie lakes where you've got tons of guys that come and fish, like a Lake Granada or whatever, some of these places in Mississippi. I could see where it could be detrimental there. Now, around here, we do a lot of crappie fishing. You know how many crappie we've kept over the last 6 to 8 years using live scope, never more than we're supposed to, only our limits. And heck, there's more crappie, as many, if not more crappie on some of them spots. The first day I ever pulled up on them with live scope as there is today. I mean, there's just as many now. I'm not seeing any difference in it whatsoever. So I'd like to get your opinion on that. What do you think?
Well,
the live scope deal.
The deal, my theory on it is, I always wonder why a professional fisherman's job are to be developers with new and better techniques to catch more fish. And yet whenever fishermen work with manufacturers to create those techniques, there's certain ones that want to take them away. And I'm trying to always understand your job as a professional fisherman is to help everyone catch more fish and be more effective. And a live scope has done that. I always remember as I was growing up in my very early stages of competitive fishing, I had so many guys who at that time are my age now, old guys that had been around fishing for years with nothing, like I started with nothing more than a flasher. But they'd look at me and then say, son, always remember, you're fishing for 10% of the bass population or fish population, because 90% of them are swimming behind you. And what forward-facing sonar has shown me is that as many as you may be able to catch, you're catching fish, they're not even on the shoreline the majority of the time, that you're catching fish that have never been fished for before. And as Spencer said, most or all professional anglers very rarely keep fish. If they do, it's not going to be bass. It's going to be crappie or some other species. But I just don't see how you're hurting the population. To me, having total tournaments or holding tournaments during a spawning season is way more damaging to a fish population to me than catch and release fishing offshore. And it's fun. I mean, I was so enthralled by it the first time he ever took me out and I got to see it. It's amazing. I mean, all those places, the triangulated places that I had known over the years that I'd fish, we didn't catch any. And we pull up with one of them and here they're everywhere. I mean, no, you don't pull up and catch fish off every spot, even though you're looking at them every spot. They live everywhere. It truly tells me that fish live everywhere. And it still takes the skill and expertise to make those fish bite. So some people don't maybe like forward-facing sonar because they feel like they're not able to catch fish. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe their expertise level is not quite to that point they can do it. It takes a great understanding. And you have to understand, and I understand, a lot of these kids Spencer's age, who were kids, came up as video gamers and watching screens, and they just have a real feel. They grasp it. They know it. They know what they're doing. And that's what it takes to be a successful forward-facing sonar fisherman. It really does. You have to be willing to put in the time to learn and understand that the fish are there. You can see them, but it's your job to figure out how to make those fish bite. It's not as simple as throwing a bait in front of them and, they're going to bite it. Because trust me, I've thrown it thousands and thousands of even crappie on a brush pile that we'd find. And you catch 3 or 4 and they're still there. They just don't bite. So there's a lot more to it than what a lot of the average fishermen don't really understand.
Yeah.
It is a technique.
Yeah, and I'll back up just a second because, like you said, a lot of these guys, they call us video gamers or whatnot, going back to when I was a kid. I didn't play video games very often at all. I was either fishing, hunting, or golfing growing up. So I might have legit maybe spent a total of an hour to 2 hours a week ever playing on a PlayStation. And I mean, you're talking, man, that was back in 96 to 2002, probably. I mean, the games weren't even that good. I mean, it wasn't like I was into video games that much. It was just, being raised in a quickly moving tech savvy world, growing up with iPhones and stuff as I got older and things, and just bottom of the line, just learning stuff that you knew you had to learn to be able to continue to compete. And that's what is so much more aggravating to me than anything is guys will say, well, you grew up playing video games and blah, blah. No, it has nothing to do with it. What it is being willing to learn how to continue to grow and compete with not only technology, but the fish. Fish change every single year, man. I mean, some of these smallmouth lakes we were going to 4 or 5 years ago, they were so dumb. I mean, every one of them you threw at with a drop shot, anything, they bit. I mean, it was so easy at one point. One of the first years I ever went up north and when I got back out here in 2020, I could literally take a 6-inch trick worm in red bug or black or June bug. The color didn't even matter, and cut it in 3-inch segments and nose hook it, and they would go right to it needed every time. They are evolving with us. They are learning our ways as quickly as we're learning theirs. We're educating these fish at such a rapid pace. That's the way it's always been. Mother Nature, nature itself it evolves with us. I mean,
Right.
There's more white-tailed deer around here now than there ever was when I was a kid, and there's 10 times the houses now. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Right in your backyard.
Yeah. But it is very aggravating when you see these guys trying to get this shut down. It takes no skill whatsoever to be able to catch a fish on live scope. You just go around, put it on your trolling motor, and they practically jump in the boat. Just hold the live wells open. I'm just telling you right now, I have taken so many guys out, and that was legit their train of thought before they ever got in the boat, and we would still be out there right now trying to get them one. They couldn't catch them. They did. There's so much more to it. It's being able to make the right cast, knowing which way the fish is swimming, if she's going away from you, to you, left, right. Being able to read the fish's body language to know if that fish is even catchable to begin with as soon as she lays eye contact on your bait. Knowing what to do with your bait when they see it. I mean, gosh, it goes way deeper than live scoping's cheating. You just go around and throw it individual fish, and it's hilarious to me when you see people say that because they are so clueless. Right. They're so clueless.
It's not looking at them, throwing at them, and catching them. That's so far from the truth. Whoever may lead you to believe that, I can take and get on his trolling motor and run the trolling motor, and I can see the same fish, but yet I catch 1 out of 100, where he might catch 1 out of 8 or 10, or way more proficient. And there again, a lot of it's my age, but it's just the idea that it's more. You got to know how to work a bait. It's a trick to it. It's all technique. And the more technique, the better you'll get. And, I think it's one of the coolest things to come along in a long time. I just don't know if these fishing leagues continue to take away that technology. And every time some new technology comes along, they ban that. I mean, really, what's a professional fisherman's job other than to help the average Joe go out and catch more fish? That's what we always grew up. That's the way I came up through the sport. And now it's a handful of guys get together and they want to ban this, they want to ban that. There's an unfair advantage. There's too much of an edge. It's too simple. Somebody doesn't like to look at the backside of a guy all day when he's staring at a screen.
They're going to be doing anyways.
They're going to do that anyway. If a guy's sitting there throwing at a fish on a bed, you're looking at his backside. You're not looking on the bank towards his face or in front of him, because trying to catch spotted fish is very difficult, and it's right too. And there were pioneers. Shaw Grigsby probably was one of the best that ever came along at that sport back in my age. He knew how to do it. A lot of us see him, But we didn't know how to do it because there was a technique in the way you worked your lure, a technique in the way you presented your lure. It's the same thing with forward-facing sonar. All it does is allows you to know way more fish live in the body of water than you ever thought there was. It's just still, you're going to be your job to figure out how to catch those fish because every fish is different. They're never any two exactly alike.
Yeah, they really are. And, that's, like you said, I mean, bed fishing, we're still going to, you ban live scope, we're still going to have two 12-inch screens up there that we're looking at our map with waypoints surrounding us or wherever we're fishing, point, hump, whatever it might be, going down a bank. We're still going to be looking at our 2D, probably even more so now because you're going to immediately want to drop down on that fish when you see it. It's so many of the arguments against forward-facing sonar are insults, and they have no backing whatsoever. There's no ground. There's no depth to them. It's just they're constantly looking at a screen, or these guys are video gamers. They don't know how to fish, and it's just incredibly irritating that you get, like this old saying goes, the squeaky wheel always gets the old first. And the problem is there's 18 wheels on the dang truck going down the interstate, and there's two of them squeaking. That's probably about the percentage of people that don't like forward-facing sonar versus the ones that do. And people with common sense don't usually complain a whole lot. And you've got the ones that are complaining an awful lot and whining the most, and they're running it for everybody. And like I said at the beginning, of this, I don't get involved with the controversy much, and I don't care whether they ban it or not. I won way more tournaments before forward-facing sonar than I have since it's come out. But it just, to me, it's a very enjoyable way to catch them. Just like we went out the other day and got to catch them on top water and watching the bite come before it ever happened. And basically every bite on live scope to me is like a top water bite. I mean, it's as thrilling as a frog bite or anything, but except it's on steroids. I see the bite coming sometimes for 10 seconds before it actually happens, and this fish is going to bite, and it's doing something just a little different to make him go ahead and commit. But the fish can be committed.
Yeah, you have to trigger a reaction,
and that's why there's just so much more goes into it. In my opinion, there is more skill that goes into live scoping than. Not in my opinion, this is fact. There's way more skill goes into live scoping than there ever will be going down a bank, throwing a chatterbait or flipping boat docks, and that's a fact. And that's why you see about 10 to 15 guys so good with live scopes, so much better than the rest of the field. And that's why people hate it, because there's 10 to 15 guys that are really that truly good.
That's true.
That have mastered it, that understand so much more about fish than the rest of the field that you're competing against. And they're complaining. These guys that you hear, it's unfair, blah, blah, unfair ban. Well, it is, because these guys are absolute whizzes with it.
They are.
And it's not anything to do with video gaming. It's legit a brain deal, being able to process things in your mind that much quicker than everyone else around you. And, anytime somebody gets that much better than you, it seems like we live in a world of time where we got to stop it somehow. They're just too good. They're way much better than I am. And we need to put a stop to it. And that's exactly what I believe you're seeing going on. A lot of these tournament organizations are listening to the wrong people. They've got 8 to 10 people maybe that they listen to every decision they make, instead of the field as a whole, the fans as a whole. And it's sad to see. But nonetheless, we'll be fine either way. No, you'll be fine because you ain't fishing competitively anymore, so you don't care either way.
My big deal when I started fishing was a jig. I won 5 of the 7 national titles I won was strictly on a jig, and it played a role in one of the other 2.
Yep.
But that said, it didn't take long to realize I was falling behind the learning curve, because there were people out there catching cranking ledges. People doing other things, even throwing in sight fish, and then the shaky head come along. And, it really boils down, in my opinion, the people that may be doing the complaining, may be the ones not winning anymore, not being successful. You have to be kind of like I had to approach it. If you want to stay in the game, you've got to learn how to compete at a higher level. You've got to make your game bigger to make your package a much more well-rounded package, so that regardless of what body of water you go to, you're always going to be or have something, a tool that you can go out there and have some confidence. Hey, I'm gonna go find them doing this. I'm gonna go find them doing that. You know, the live scopers, they can still see them, and a lot of guys know how to use that thing. But I'm gonna tell you, they don't all catch them, and not all of them are very successful. He's right. There's 15 to 20 guys that are wizards. They know everything about that, and I feel like we're just trying to penalize a handful of guys when, in my opinion, the rest of the guys ought to work harder, catch up, figure out what's going on. There's, like he said, so much technique goes into that. It's not just looking at a screen and going out there and catching fish. Trust me.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, it's not that easy. I can't do it.
So, yeah, it's putting your time in, learning. It's just like anything, you know. I mean, it is. I mean, a jackhammer is available to everyone fishing professionally, but and look how effective it is. I mean, how dumb is it to just, I mean, legit, you just tie on a jackhammer and take off down any bank on about any lake, you're going to catch a fish pretty often. I mean, it's that effective. A chatterbait is, and we're still using it, you know? I mean, you don't see people putting bands on it, so I know that's getting a little off topic, but it really is. It's just frustrating when you see things like this and happening on. I'm not for bans. A lot of people try to compare it to spotlighting a deer. Well, there's a big difference. You know, when you spotlighting a deer and you pull the trigger on them, that's it for them. I mean, these fish, we're catching them. 99.9% of these bass are going right back.
That's right.
To be caught again. So it's totally that's the dumbest comparison I've ever heard in my life. Is it's like spotlighting deer. But you know, I don't know where the sport's gonna go from here as far as technology. I mean, you start putting bans on stuff like four faces sonar, then in my opinion, what's the difference in side scan and down scan? Why aren't we banning it? Why are we allowing maps other than a safety deal? I mean, you didn't have mapping like I have.
I mean, I can GPS for years.
Yes, I can see every turn in a creek channel, river channel, how a point runs out, every single thing about it. I can, as soon as I get a bite or idle over it with down scan or side scan, just push a button and it makes a waypoint. If we're gonna have such a problem with four faces sonar, then I think why are we going to continue to allow this other stuff? And it's no different. It's absolutely no different. You know, live scope is just another tool. And if you guys have figured it out and gotten so good at it that it's not a day difference between them and the rest of the field. And that's why you're seeing it being stopped. And like I said earlier, it's just a sad thing. But on with that. So what have you been up to? You get to fish much anymore, or on the boat since you quit? I get asked all the time about it. People ask me how you doing and what you up to nowadays.
Well, I haven't retired in I guess it was 2014, and I sold my boat just a month or two after, and I haven't owned one since. I get to go when Spence here's home, or when a buddy might invite me to go out. I stay really busy. I've taken on a number of other projects and things, and you know, I have a little bit of a lawn service. It was pretty big at one time, but as I've aged, I've slowed it down some. And I just like to stay busy. I like to stay busy. I've got plenty to do. If he's not home and we can't make a fishing trip, and when we do, we always make a fun fishing trip. It's always fun. Like I said, to go, I can sit in the back of the boat actually and just watch what he can do. And like I said, it makes me proud. I'm glad to know. I wish all children and all parents had that opportunity to plant that seed. Fishing is such a great sport and so many good things about it. And I loved it. Truthfully, I don't really miss the competitive age of it. I saw it was outgrowing me by leaps and bounds. And I just got tired of the travel more than anything else. I've become a homebody. I love sitting around the house and with my wife and our 3 Yorkies. And, you know, we just have a great time. And Spencer and I will continue to fish as long as the good Lord intends for me to be able to go. And he'll continue with his success on the trail for as long as that's meant to be. And, you know, life is good in the Shuffield family for me as far as I'm concerned. I'm enjoying my retirement and still staying busy in the same process. And I do miss a lot of my old buddies and things out there, but hey, you know, we all get to that point someday. I guess if you do anything long enough, you get a little tired of it. So move on to the next chapter.
Yeah, I still say I wish they would have created a seniors league where everybody over 55, like over 55 and older, y'all could have fished, and I think that would have been pretty cool.
I think it would have been cool to have a seniors tour. You know,
Yeah.
now if they tried to have it with guys my age, there's probably only about 12, 15 of us left. It wouldn't be a very big tournament. But no, I'm just joking. I know a lot of the old guys are still around, and you know, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a great thing to do. Like I said, I really enjoy fishing.
But yeah, glad you were able to hop on here. Definitely want to have you on again. This was a long flashback Friday, and we really flashed it on by. But we kind of went in the present with it too, and just wanted to get his opinion on some of this stuff, because I have people all the time. I post a video of us live scoping or something, and they'll be like, I bet your dad absolutely hates you for using it, and he's so against it. So figured some of you people might be a little surprised on his opinions on it, and want to get him on here and just let him kind of tell you guys what he was up to. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you again.
Bye.